Hi everyone, bonjour. I'm Sasha. Thanks for being here for the 12 days of yoga challenge, like little mini capsule workshops for you to infuse into your yoga practice. And today is forward bending, forward folding. And often what I see in classes is a bending from the abdomen or from the lumbar spine. And the lumbar spine naturally kind of moves in, the natural curve of the spine, and so we don't want to push it the opposite direction. So what I've learned over the years in my own practice, especially through Iyengar, is bending at the top of the thigh rather than bending at the waist. And that will ensure that the spine and the ribs are long and spacious. That's where all of the organs and the breath, the lungs live, so that we can breathe really easily when we are in a forward bending position. I have the props here so that I can touch my hands to the blocks or to a chair or even to the wall or to a desk or a table. So the first one we'll do is Uttanasana, or intense forward bend. And if you have a block, I highly recommend putting it in the Pez dispenser shape like we did in the first video for standing poses to find stability in the legs. So in forward bending, there are standing and seated variations, even inversion variations. But today we're just gonna touch on standing and seated. So with the block between the thighs, I have some stability to find my feet and my legs. And then because I don't have two blocks to put my hands on, I'm gonna use the chair. I can also use the bolster, but it's easier to have something on either side of you if you can, or long in front of you. So, hands to hips, elbows back, and let's actually put this pinky blade of the hand at the top of the thigh where you feel that crease, where the bottom of the pelvis meets the top of the thigh. And just a few times, kind of tick-tock yourself forward and back, forward and up, and feel how you bend at the top of the femur, at the top of the thigh. And the legs this whole time, I'm not bending them here. There are forward bends where the legs are bent, but right now I just want you to keep the legs active, and that will help you understand this better because of the contrast, hopefully. And now when you do this, come forward and put your hands on something. You can even just come halfway up for now, to really get this action of forward bending of the legs while lengthening the spine. And then you might even go forward and again put your forearms in your head, and I'm trying not to sink back in my heels. I'm doing my best to find stability. Remember, equanimity in the feet, so I'm nice and aligned from my hips to my knees to my ankles. And if you're having trouble with the muscles of your legs, you can bend your knees a little bit and then firm the muscles of the knees to straight. And if this is coming along, you can put your hands either on one block or two blocks. I recommend two if you have them. And start to let the head drop. And if it's really coming along, you might widen the fingers, like almost to the edges of the mat. And as you start to bend the elbows wide, the collarbone will widen into the legs. So that really creates lots of space for not only the back of the torso, but the front of the torso. So my heels are firming down, the muscles of my knees and my hamstrings are lifting up, so the butt goes up, and the pelvis kind of waterfalls down into the spine as the elbows open, the collarbones open, and then the head can drop. And over time, you might even move closer and closer to the legs, but you're not pushing your spine, you're kind of guiding the upper back forward into the chest here. And of course, you're breathing easily in and out of the nose. And then to come up, you can come halfway up first. You can put the hands on the chair and then stand up, elbows back, and pause and make sure if you feel dizzy. This helps me to karate chop my face. We used to do that in dance when we did turns across the floor. It helps me find equanimity. Or you just stand for a moment and breathe. And now we'll do a seated forward bend, which I touched on in the beginning when we did the modifications. So if you're seated and you're on the floor and you're rolling your spine, then I would rather you sit on a blanket than bend the knees. So unless it's a bent knee posture. So voila, now I have more space. You can always sit on a block, you can sit on bolster, pillows, anything that's stable, but also comfortable enough for your buns. And then this is the seated forward bend, Paschimottanasana, and in the first video of modifications, I also used a strap. So to start, we'll be in Dandasana. This is already kind of a forward bend here with the legs long and the spine tall. The fingertips can go slightly behind you, especially if you have a blanket here, kind of push them down. Turn the fingers forward. Let's start with them forward. Elbows back, Peter Pan, Wonder Woman, elbows. Spine tall. So the front and the back of the torso lift. And then as you start to come forward, if you can't touch the toes, you take this again around the strap around the feet, and you just stay here for as long as you can. And you keep lengthening up the front of the body and the back of the body. So you're not pushing your lumbar forward, or you're not pushing it back. You're just trying to find space in either sides of the ribs. And then if this is coming along, you might start to bend the elbows out to the side and widen the collarbones with the elbows towards the toes. That's why the elbows are widening out to the side rather than going down, because this can kind of collapse the body, and this creates alertness. And then if this is coming along, if you're interested and you'd like to rest your head, you can place this on the shins like a block or a pillow and start to put your head on something, but continue to kind of do this push-pull action with the feet and the arms. And then maybe one day, if it's really coming along and you feel really stable in the legs are active here, the muscles of the knees are firm, you might grab the outer edges of the feet, elbows wide, and the head goes down. And I'm not trying to push anything. I'm rather staying really active and alert in my legs so that the spine just kind of makes its way down. And then I inhale to come up slowly. The hands go back, Dandasana, pose of the staff. And I breathe. And of course there are lots of options like where the legs are crossed. This is a nice forward bending restorative pose. Adho Mukha Sukhasana. Sukhasana is easy seat. It's where the legs are crossed like this. Adho Mukha is downward facing with the torso like that. Another nice forward bend that is really restorative is child's pose. This is the last one we'll do here. So if you need something, if your butt does not come down into your heels, I should say that child's pose is the big toes together, the knees wide enough to fit the torso. So they're not super wide, they're not super narrow. You can always put a blanket under the heels, on top of the heels, under the butt, so that the butt is anchored. If you don't need that, great. Another great modification for this, especially if you have back issues or even digestive issues, just make sure you don't eat right beforehand, is to put like something that is creased or rolled. You can unfold this blanket and roll it a few times and put it right on top of the thighs at the hip crease where it meets the belly, and go up and forward. Oh, this feels so good. This is one of my favorites. And the arms go forward and the butt goes down. So this is the most important, the descending of the butt down to the heels. The arms go forward. They kind of, the hands kind of actually help push the butt back, and the head drops between the arms. If it doesn't go down, don't push it. You can just use a prop underneath the head. And you're just here for a few moments and you're breathing. Of course, if you're pregnant, don't use the belly roll. And if you're on your cycle, you can sit upright in Dandasana like we were doing before, with the legs outstretched in front of you, and that's enough of a forward bend. If you're here, you're just breathing, and then come up as you're ready. So take your time coming up. I'm just doing it quickly to show you. And so if you are on your cycle, you do not have to go that deep into a forward bend. You can just sit in Dandasana as we started, or in Baddha Konasana with the hands on the ankles and the back up against the wall. And that's enough for that. Thanks for practicing with me. If you have questions, please let me know. I hope that you can just take these tools into your own practice, and I will see you on the other side. Namaste. Thank you.